Rocky IV, 1985, wasn't just another sequel. It was a global sensation that captured the spirit of the Cold War era and gave us one of the most iconic rivalries in film history. Rocky Balboa versus Ivan Drago. With its unforgettable training montage, emotional stakes, and explosive finale, the movie left a lasting impact on audiences worldwide. But nearly 40 years later, where are the stars of Rocky IV now in 2025? From Sylvester Stallone's ongoing legacy to Dolph Lundgren's surprising ventures and the rest of the cast's journeys, some have remained in the spotlight, while others have taken unexpected turns. In this video, we explore what happened to the actors who brought this classic to life, and where life has taken them since. Bert Young, born April 30th, 1940 in New York City, reprised the role of Paulie Panino in Rocky IV, 1985, at age 45. As Rocky Balboa's grumbling brother-in-law, Paulie was loud, bitter, self-pitying, and often cruel, yet somehow managed to retain a kernel of loyalty and love that made him strangely endearing to fans. His racist remarks, his frequent drunken rants, and his violent outbursts made Paulie one of the franchise's most complicated characters. Off-screen, Young was no less volatile. He grew up in a working-class Italian family in Queens, scarred by a violent, alcoholic father and a mother he once described as already dead inside by the time he turned 10. Barely educated and prone to street fights, Young joined the Marines to escape, but came back even angrier. Before acting, he boxed professionally, racked up a few wins, and also a criminal record for assault. In Hollywood, he was often described as brilliant but combative. On the set of Rocky II, he reportedly got into a fistfight with a producer over script changes and punched a grip during Back to School. His reputation for being difficult cost him roles in several major 1980s films. He was once cast in a lead role in a Martin Scorsese project, but was fired after a heated, drunken argument with another actor during pre-production. Personally, his life was no calmer. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce in the early 1980s, and his daughter distanced herself from him due to his erratic behavior. In his later years, Young found solace in painting and poetry, but remained financially strained, at times selling artwork to pay bills. His health declined rapidly in the 2010s, but he refused to retire. Bert Young died on October 8, 2023, in Los Angeles of cardiac arrest, with contributing factors including myocardial infarction and atherosclerosis. He was 83. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $2 million, largely from residuals, a modest New Jersey estate, and a collection of unsold paintings. Though often overlooked in Hollywood's elite circles, his gritty, raw performances left an indelible mark. Tony Burton, born March 23, 1937 in Flint, Michigan, returned as Duke Evers in Rocky IV in 1985 at age 48. Duke, the passionate trainer of Apollo Creed and later Rocky Balboa, served as the emotional glue between the franchise's brutal boxing matches and its deeper themes of loyalty and loss. Burton's commanding presence was rooted in lived experience. He had been a boxer himself, even winning a few Golden Gloves matches before the law caught up with him. Born into poverty during the Great Depression, Burton was one of 6 children in a family that barely scraped by. As a teen, he ran with gangs, eventually being arrested for armed robbery and serving time in California's Chino prison. It was behind bars that he discovered acting through inmate drama workshops. Upon release, he struggled to find steady work, often taking janitorial jobs between auditions. Hollywood was unforgiving. He was regularly typecast as thugs or ex-cons and faced discrimination for both his past and his race. His breakout in Rocky came with little pay, and even then, studio execs tried to reduce his screen time. In the early 90s, he was publicly critical of Hollywood's treatment of black supporting actors, calling the system rigged and racist. That candor cost him work. He was dropped from a TV pilot for speaking out, and his phone stopped ringing for years. Personally, he never married, and while he had children, his relationship with them remained largely private and distant. In his later years, Burton battled dementia and had to be placed in a long-term care facility. He died on February 26, 2016 at 78 in Menifee, California, from complications of pneumonia. His net worth at the time was a modest $1.5 million, built from acting gigs, a small pension, and a few property holdings in Southern California. Though the industry didn't always value him, Tony Burton's quiet force in the Rocky franchise continues to resonate, especially among those who knew what it meant to fight not just in the ring, but in life. Carl Weathers, born January 14, 1948, in New Orleans, Louisiana, portrayed the unforgettable Apollo Creed in Rocky IV, 1985. At the age of 37, was flamboyant, intelligent, and fiercely proud. A former heavyweight champ who entered the ring with flair and left it a martyr. His death in the ring against Drago shocked audiences and cemented his legacy as a symbol of American heart and hubris. Weathers, however, was not always as confident off-screen. Raised in poverty-stricken New Orleans, he was the youngest of four and often slept on the floor of a one-room house. His father, a day laborer, was rarely home, and his mother was overwhelmed. Carl survived the streets through sports, eventually landing in the NFL. But injuries and internal league politics cut his career short. The transition to acting was filled with rejection. Early on, he was told he was too dark or too loud for leading roles. His pride clashed with casting agents, and he earned a reputation for being overly assertive in auditions. In 2006, a public feud erupted between him and Stallone when Carl refused to license his likeness for Rocky Balboa, demanding creative control and back pay for previous installments. That battle went to arbitration and left a rift that was never fully healed. His romantic life was no less chaotic. 3 marriages, all ending in divorce. His second wife accused him of psychological manipulation and infidelity, leading to a very public court battle that revealed details about Weathers' temper and control issues. He had 2 sons, one of whom reportedly cut ties with him in his 20s. Though he later reinvented himself with roles in Arrested Development and The Mandalorian, behind the scenes he was still haunted by feelings of underappreciation in Hollywood. Carl Weathers died on February 2, 2024, in Los Angeles at the age of 76, due to atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $8 million, which included real estate in Los Angeles, investments in tech startups, and residuals from film and television. His legacy remains powerful, but far more complex than his public image ever let on. Michael Pataki, born January 16, 1936, portrayed the cold-blooded Soviet bureaucrat Nikolai Koloff in Rocky IV, 1985, at the age of 49. Koloff, a character that embodied the icy, controlling Soviet regime, was a masterstroke in portraying quiet menace without ever throwing a punch. His chilling glares and tightly wound authority lent an eerie realism to Ivan Drago's narrative. But few knew that Pataki, behind the curtain, was a volatile mix of brilliance and inner demons. Raised in the steel-torn back streets of Youngstown, Ohio, Michael endured a brutal childhood. His father was an abusive alcoholic who routinely beat his wife and forced Michael to witness it in silence. Emotionally scarred and reclusive by adolescence, he escaped through theater, but carried those shadows into adulthood. In Hollywood, Pataki quickly earned a reputation as a fearless actor, but also a combative one. He clashed frequently with directors, once storming off a B-movie set and refusing to return unless given script control. While never caught in a full-blown scandal, his involvement with the controversial and grotesque character George Liquor in the Ren and Stimpy show triggered backlash from parent groups, accusing him of promoting disturbing content under the guise of satire. Pataki's career was marked by missed opportunities. Most notably, he was in line for a lead villain role in a major 90s action franchise, but was dropped last minute due to his unpredictable temperament during pre-production. Personally, Pataki kept lovers at arm's length. He never married and was once accused of emotionally abusing a long-term partner who later claimed he lived in an emotional bunker. Diagnosed with cancer in 2009, he kept it secret until his death on April 15, 2010, in North Hollywood at 72. At his death, his assets totaled around $1 million, mostly from residuals and voice work. But what lingers is not just the legacy of Koloff, but the enigmatic man behind the cold stare, tormented, talented, and terminally misunderstood. James Brown, born May 3, 1933, roared onto the screen in Rocky IV at age 52 with Living in America, turning Apollo Creed's ring entrance into a red, white, and blue spectacle of sound and sweat. On screen, he was celebration incarnate, but off-screen, Brown's world was darker than any soundtrack could drown out. Born in abject poverty in Barnwell, South Carolina, to a teenage mother who abandoned him and a father who beat him with electrical cords, Brown grew up in a brothel and spent his early years stealing to eat. That trauma calcified into a rage he never fully shook. Though he rose to become the godfather of soul, his career was repeatedly derailed by drug addiction, arrests, and violent outbursts. In the early 80s, he served time for assault and battery after reportedly beating a woman with a lead pipe, a charge he always denied but which was quietly settled. During Rocky IV's release, Brown was already spiraling. Behind the scenes, he demanded his own wardrobe team, refused to rehearse with the film crew, and threatened to walk unless given full control over his performance. His ego was legendary, but so was his volatility. His marriages were turbulent. He married 4 times, and his third wife accused him of drug-fueled domestic abuse. He fathered at least 12 children, many of whom later fought bitterly over his estate. Brown died on December 25, 2006 at 73, in Atlanta from congestive heart failure caused by pneumonia, though some close to him suspect foul play, citing irregularities in his medical treatment. His estate, valued around $100 million, became mired in a legal war that stretched for over a decade, with secret wills, disputed heirs, and a missing fortune. Even in death, James Brown couldn't escape chaos. His legacy revered, his life a cautionary tale of fame, fury, and fractured genius. Burgess Meredith, born November 16, 1907, played Mickey Goldmill in Rocky IV in 1985 at age 78, reprising the role that defined a generation of tough love mentors. Though Mickey had died in Rocky III, his presence in the 4th installment, via a poignant flashback, was a moment that hit audiences like a punch to the gut. Gruff, intense, and loaded with street wisdom, Mickey symbolized a lost era of grit and unpolished heart. But the man behind the iconic trainer had a life far more tragic and stormy than most fans realize. Born into a cold and unstable household in Cleveland, Meredith endured a childhood marred by emotional neglect and the violent temper of his father, a failed doctor who often berated his son for being too sensitive. This early trauma led Burgess to internalize pain, which he later funneled into his intense stage and screen roles. His acting journey exploded in the 1930s, but everything came crashing down during the McCarthy era. Accused of having communist sympathies, Meredith was blacklisted, losing almost all his film and TV work overnight. He turned to theater and voice acting just to survive, all while battling depression and an escalating alcohol problem. In one infamous incident in 1956, he reportedly collapsed drunk on stage during a live Broadway performance, an event that nearly ended his career. His personal life was chaotic. He married 4 times, and while most remember his long-lasting marriage to Paulette Goddard, few know it was marked by long separations and allegations of emotional abuse. He had one son, Jonathan, but they were estranged for years after Burgess refused to support Jonathan's decision to leave law school for music. In his later years, Meredith was plagued by both Alzheimer's and melanoma, leading to increasing confusion and isolation. He died on September 9, 1997 in Malibu at age 89. His net worth at the time of death was estimated at $3 million, consisting of decades' worth of royalties, a Malibu property, and rare artwork he'd quietly collected. Stu Nahan, born June 23, 1926, made his mark in Rocky IV at 59 as commentator number 1, the voice that lent gravitas to the violent ballet of the ring. To millions, Nahan wasn't just a character, he was the sound of boxing's most emotional moments. But behind that calm, resonant tone was a man who'd quietly survived personal storms few ever knew. Born in Los Angeles during the Great Depression, Nahan's childhood was steeped in economic anxiety. His parents, German immigrants, were ostracized during World War II, and young Stu grew up facing suspicion and subtle discrimination. In his early years as a sportscaster, he was fired from a Philadelphia station after an on-air slip allegedly hinting at a producer's gambling debts, an incident that forced him into minor league broadcasts for years. Though admired professionally, Nahan battled depression privately, and close colleagues hinted at a long-standing painkiller addiction that began after a severe car accident in the 70s. That dependency reportedly led to multiple behind-the-scenes altercations during filming, including a rumored shouting match with a Rocky IV production assistant after Nahan forgot his lines. Despite these shadows, he maintained a pristine public image. Married 3 times, his second wife divorced him, citing emotional abandonment, and his estranged son once accused him in a memoir of being a father to millions, but a ghost in our home. He died on December 26, 2007, at 81 from lymphoma in Studio City. His estate was worth an estimated $2 million, a result of decades in broadcasting, though a portion was quietly absorbed by medical debt and litigation over a disputed will filed by his third wife. Nahan remains a haunting presence, his voice immortal, but his private anguish long buried behind the microphone. Alan Rich, born February 8, 1926, was 59 when Rocky IV premiered in 1985, having filmed a scene as the boxing commissioner, a role that was ultimately cut from the final version. What many fans don't know is that this wasn't the first time Rich's presence had been erased from history. A brilliant stage actor in the 1940s and early 50s, Rich found himself blacklisted during the Red Scare, not for confirmed actions, but for association. He had been seen at political fundraisers linked to leftist causes, and despite his claims of political neutrality, he became unemployable. In one chilling moment, FBI agents reportedly raided his home, interrogating his wife and searching through their private letters. Broke and desperate, he turned to selling art out of a tiny New York storefront, eventually opening a gallery that gained the attention of Andy Warhol and other giants of the era. But Rich never gave up on acting. He clawed his way back in the late 1960s with roles in off-Broadway productions, eventually transitioning into character roles in film and television. While respected, he was known in the industry for his volatile temper. Multiple accounts from actors who trained under him describe intense tirades, emotional manipulation, and public humiliations during rehearsals. Rich's marriage to Elaine Rich, a casting agent, was often seen as professionally strategic rather than romantic. Rumors persisted for decades that he had an affair with a powerful male studio executive in the 1970s, an allegation never confirmed, but whispered enough to be part of Hollywood lore. In his final years, Rich suffered from progressive dementia and withdrew from the public eye. He passed away on August 22, 2020, in Englewood, New Jersey at 94. His estate, valued around $1 million, included a modest Manhattan apartment, art holdings, and residuals from his film and television work. Though forgotten by many, he remained a complicated figure in the industry, part mentor, part cautionary tale. Talia Shire was born on April 25, 1946, and returned as Adrian Balboa in Rocky IV in 1985 at the age of 39. Her portrayal of Adrian, reserved, loyal, quietly powerful, was the emotional counterweight to the testosterone-fueled energy of the film. But off-screen, Shire was anything but the quiet housewife. Born into the powerful Coppola family, she often battled to be seen as more than just Francis Ford's sister, a struggle that created tension within the family. Though she earned Oscar nominations for The Godfather Part 2 and Rocky, her career cooled dramatically by the late 80s, plagued by typecasting and a string of underwhelming films. Insiders have hinted at quiet resentments within the Coppola clan, particularly around her failed marriage to composer David Shire, which ended in a divorce clouded by rumors of infidelity and creative jealousy. Sources claim she was emotionally volatile and that her career came second to preserving the Coppola brand's public image, often being pushed aside for more profitable family ventures. Her relationship with her children was also reportedly strained, particularly with actor Jason Schwartzman, who once stated in a rare interview that their family life was beautifully dysfunctional, hinting at deep emotional rifts. Despite keeping a low profile, Shire was at the center of a legal battle in the early 2000s when she was sued by a former assistant for alleged breach of contract and hostile work environment. An incident quietly settled out of court. Health issues in recent years have kept her out of the spotlight, and she has been seen infrequently in public. At 79, she lives in California and has focused on estate preservation and managing family legacies. Her current net worth is estimated between $20 to $40 million, largely from residuals, family investments, and past acting royalties. Though fans still remember her as Adrian, the beating heart of the Rocky saga, Hollywood remembers her as a fiercely protective figure in one of its most powerful dynasties, one who kept her secrets guarded behind closed doors. Sylvester Stallone was born on July 6, 1946, and took on the iconic role of Rocky Balboa in Rocky IV in 1985 at the age of 39. As the grieving fighter driven by vengeance and political defiance, Stallone's performance was raw and emotionally charged, one of the most memorable in the franchise. Yet few know how the making of Rocky IV nearly broke him physically and professionally. During filming, Dolph Lundgren punched Stallone so hard in the chest that Stallone's heart swelled, leading to an emergency hospital visit that halted production. But that wasn't the only near-fatal blow. By the mid-'80s, Stallone was riding a tidal wave of fame, but also teetering on the edge of implosion. His relationship with co-star and then-wife Brigitte Nielsen turned toxic, riddled with public shouting matches, alleged infidelity, and accusations of emotional abuse. Nielsen later claimed that Stallone was obsessively controlling and prone to violent outbursts behind closed doors, though he has denied such claims. Professionally, Stallone faced backlash from critics who panned him as style over substance, with several failed projects following Rocky IV, including the box office flop Rhinestone and the critically ridiculed Over the Top. There were whispers in the late 80s of his rampant steroid use, a claim he later acknowledged in part, admitting to using human growth hormone to stay in shape for Rambo roles. His public image was also tainted by multiple lawsuits, one from a former housekeeper claiming wrongful termination, and another from a stunt double over unpaid medical bills. Despite these scandals, Stallone reinvented himself in the 2000s, reviving the Rocky and Rambo franchises and co-founding The Expendables. Today at 79, Stallone remains active in Hollywood and lives between Los Angeles and Palm Beach, Florida. His net worth exceeds $400 million, built from decades of starring roles, directing, production, and business ventures, including a successful clothing line and art sales. He remains a complex figure, beloved by fans, shunned by critics, and haunted by personal chaos, barely hidden behind the brawny, heroic mask of Rocky. Dolph Lundgren was born on November 3, 1957, and played the unforgettable Ivan Drago in Rocky IV in 1985 at age 28. His portrayal of the cold, state-manufactured Soviet juggernaut left a lasting mark on cinema. One line, "If he dies, he dies," immortalized him as one of the most iconic villains of the 1980s. But few knew that behind the terrifying exterior was a man hiding more than just fists. Raised in a strict, abusive household in Stockholm, Lundgren endured years of physical violence from his father, which he later said, "scarred me for life." He turned to martial arts as both an outlet and armor, becoming a European karate champion before pursuing chemical engineering, eventually earning a master's degree. However, his acting career didn't unfold smoothly. After Rocky IV, he was typecast endlessly as the blonde killing machine, leading to a string of B-movies and missed opportunities. His deepest professional failure came with Masters of the Universe in 1987, a box office disaster that almost ended his career. Off-screen, Lundgren cultivated a reputation for discipline, but privately he wrestled with steroid use during his bodybuilding years and reportedly had violent mood swings during withdrawal. His personal life was no calmer. His decades-long relationship with Annette Kviberg, the mother of his two daughters, was marred by jealousy, emotional distance, and a traumatic home invasion in 2009 that left the family shaken. Their divorce in 2011 was quiet but deeply painful, with reports of lengthy custody and financial negotiations. In recent years, Lundgren revealed he had been battling kidney cancer privately since the mid-2010s, a fight he kept secret from even his closest collaborators. Now 67, Lundgren continues acting, mostly in nostalgic action franchises and occasionally directs. He's currently engaged to a woman nearly 40 years his junior, raising eyebrows and reigniting tabloid buzz. His net worth is estimated at $18 million, built on over 80 films, brand endorsements, and European real estate. Brigitte Nielsen was born on July 15, 1963, and starred as Ludmilla Drago in Rocky IV in 1985 at the age of 22. On screen, she embodied the perfect image of Soviet elegance and control, icy, unbothered, and fiercely loyal to her husband, even Drago. But off-screen, Brigitte was the very opposite, a whirlwind of chaos, scandal, and controversy. Born in Rødovre, Denmark, to a taxi driver father and librarian mother, Nielsen's early life was filled with emotional neglect and cold ambition. She later admitted she was pushed into modeling not by passion, but as an escape from her dysfunctional home. By her early 20s, she had undergone her first cosmetic surgery, beginning a lifelong obsession with altering her appearance to escape her past. After Rocky IV, she married Sylvester Stallone in a media-frenzied union that lasted barely 2 years, collapsing under accusations of infidelity, most famously her alleged affair with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which she publicly confirmed decades later. Her career nosedived in the early 1990s, and by the mid-2000s, Nielsen became better known for drunken antics on reality TV than for her acting. She struggled openly with alcoholism, checked into rehab multiple times, and aired her darkest moments on shows like Celebrity Rehab. Behind the cameras, her love life was a carousel of broken marriages, including 5 husbands and multiple public breakups. Her children, especially her son with ex-husband Casper Winding, were often kept away from her during her more unstable years, leading to strained relationships. In 2018, she shocked the public by giving birth at age 54, sparking fierce debates about ethics and fertility treatments. Despite all the chaos, Nielsen managed a comeback in European television and branding deals, transforming scandal into business. Today, at 62, she lives between Los Angeles and Milan, appearing in TV, hosting, and managing her cosmetic line. Her net worth in 2025 is estimated at $185 million, bolstered by royalties, fashion ventures, and licensing deals. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of Rocky IV and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.